Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to another Resi Live.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks everybody.
All right, so I'm just gonna
You're
help
just
you
gonna
out, Nate.
jump right in.
I'm gonna help. I've got my PSL.
You've
No, just kidding.
Happy fall.
It's real coffee, people.
Hey, what
Jeez.
are you getting on me for? You're talking about your coffee and we're not introing our guest.
That's what I was gonna say. We're introing our guest,
Yeah.
Luke McElroy from Salt. How you doing, buddy?
Doing so well.
Awesome.
My drink of choice is not PSL, by the way. It's the pumpkin cold brew.
Ooh.
Far better of a drink.
Cold
Let's just throw
brew.
that out.
Oh, I
Cold brew.
tell you what, I don't know if this is like, I'm just kind of like just getting into coffee. It's kind of a whole nother story of like why it happened, but I'll share that for another Resi Live.
Are you in production? Just getting into coffee? What's going on here?
I
guys?
don't know if this is something that has existed before or not, but last week I had the apple crisp, something or other at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That was really good.
Really?
And the lady told me to put a little white chocolate at the bottom. I was
Did
Nate, that's how you get into coffee. You just
Yeah.
put sugar in it, and then
Well,
you
yes.
slowly.
Did it
ease
come with a
off,
little
right?
Yeah.
umbrella?
I mean, it should have probably.
That's awesome. Okay.
Anyway,
Okay, we digress.
You know you're a worship leader if no one can describe your coffee, right?
right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, Luke. Your title. I'm gonna give you a title. Lead visionary of Salt. What
I'll take it for now.
What is Salt? Help us understand what Salt is.
Yeah, so SALT started about 8 years ago, and our whole intent and our heartbeat is how do we help shepherd, equip, connect, and empower the creative church? So for us, that's everybody from those helping with stream behind the scenes on a Sunday morning, to those running production in room, to those managing websites and Facebook and social media and communications, all the way to worship. And then you've got storytellers and all that. And we really sort of started this community around this heartbeat of like, we feel like creativity and technology can be a vehicle that God would use to reach our communities better. And so the whole phrase SALT came because it's a picture. It's not an acronym. The joke, is that someone called us out once at a conference. It's like, does SALT stand for Sound and Light Team? And we're like, oh my gosh,
Ooh.
no.
But does
First
it
off,
now?
let's just abolish bad
But does it
acronyms
now?
That's
in
fair.
the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Acronyms and alliterations. Gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. But what we say is that SALT is the picture that technology or creativity should be in the church. Like, it is a seasoning agent. It's a flavoring agent. It's something that can heal wounds and can preserve through the test of time. But the best characteristic of SALT is that it can make people thirsty. And so when you apply that to creativity and technology in the church, well, SALT has no nutritional value, aka creativity doesn't have nutritional value in the church. We're not out to entertain just for the sake of entertaining. We're here to add creativity, storytelling, and technology into our gospel presentations so that we can help it be an agent of causing people to thirst for Christ. So we think that technology can season our services and our experiences and our gatherings and our stories so that people can encounter Christ, so that people can do what we've been called to, and that is use our gifts of creativity and technology in the local church.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so we understand what SALT is, but why? Why? What was the story behind kind of getting this movement started for you personally?
Well, that is a loaded question, and I don't know if we have enough time on this live to dive into the whole thing.
We got nothing but time. Nothing but time.
I'm going to try and keep this short, but I feel like growing up, I felt like God had laid on my heart. He gave me this picture when I was in high school serving in youth ministry. And this picture was a bunch of people worshiping in a room. And the phrase that sort of lingered over it was those who don't understand their influence in the world. And I interpreted this picture, if you will. I photoshopped my own picture because I didn't have enough answers. So I just sort of filled in all the gaps that we didn't have, right? No one else does this, right? God gives you a calling and you just trust it, right? You don't fill in all the gaps.
Never.
Right.
But so in high school and in early college years, I thought this was God's way of saying, you need to start a youth camp. You need to build a camp for students to basically the people who are going to become like future kid presidents, right? And CEOs of America, people who don't understand their influence, help them understand that the way we're going to change the world is by changing the Fortune 500 list and making all those devout Christians, God-fearing men and women. And so that was kind of the vision all the way through college. And one day God woke me up and asked me 3 questions. And those 3 questions were, do you have any influence in the youth ministry world? And I was like, no. Are you planning on getting any influence in the youth ministry world anytime soon? And I was like, no. And so God was like, then why in the world would I be having you build a youth camp? Like, let go of that vision in your life and why don't you see what you do? And that was, my sort of day job. What pays the bills for us is we do live events. Yeah. We work corporate events. We do retreats, conferences. We did the SBC convention from a production standpoint this past year. And so my life and my heartbeat and what our team is invested in every single day is production. And we said, whoa, what if production teams and creatives really understood what I think the Bible says the power of creativity is? It's in 60 of the 66 books.
Wow.
Creativity, making, made, maker, stuff like that. And it's the 5th word of Bible. In the beginning, God created, right? And so when we harness the true essence that God's first characteristic that we see in all of Scripture is that he was a creative. When we really step into that, what could happen with the influence we could have on culture and whatever? Now, we said this 10 years ago, right? And so we started a conference because we felt like gathering a community and getting them around a central concept or theme and having workshops that help our craft to sort of make us excellent in what we do, while also spurring us along from a spiritual standpoint. We felt like that was probably the best expression for us to help facilitate that vision. And interestingly enough, we had no clue that COVID would eventually hit and that every technician, every creative, every person who was trying to reach their community would all have to leverage the power of streaming and technology and videos to really reach their community, right? It was almost like a revelation for us of the vision God had given us. So that was kind of the why.
That's really cool. So you've been doing SALT for how many years now?
So this will be our 9th conference coming up in 2 weeks. Okay. So we started in 2013, and it's been a journey.
Yeah. So I have a few questions about that, but the first one, for somebody going to a SALT conference, what kind of do you hope that they'll walk away with?
I hope they'll walk away with 2 ultimate sort of heartbeats. One, I feel like they walk away with the tools or the knowledge or the abilities, processes, and practices that they feel like they can go back to their church and make an impact. That's the first thing that we think about the whole time at SALT. The second thing is we hope that you get refueled and re-energized to love working for the local church. I mean, you guys probably hear it. You talk to people all the time. I hear it. I talk to church technicians and creative directors and pastors all the time. Like, us who serve in creative and technical ministries, we're burned out. We're tired. Like, especially after COVID, we have come off of just a crazy season of having to figure it out and pivot. And I compliment everybody who went to Resi and said, oh my gosh, we need a partner that is reliable, because you've made the largest step you could make in trying to reach your community in a post-COVID world and making it so that church can meet people where they are, not just always begging people to come into the building. And what our hope is that in that there's a lot of burden on your shoulders and you're just constantly pouring out. And what our heartbeat yearns for that man or that woman who's like, man, I just don't know if I can continue to do this at this pace. And we just want to create a space where you have an encounter to meet with God.
Yeah.
And he just pours out, no, this was my calling in your life. Yeah. You were meant to do what you were, and you're not alone, because you'll find that there's 800 people at this conference that do exactly what you do. And they're in the same situation that you're in, dealing with maybe the same problems you deal with.
Yeah. I love that. I went myself as a church guy, and then I've gone a couple of times as a Resi person. And yeah, I just have to say that the people that you bring in and the talent that you bring in, even just more from extending even above a disciplinary approach of strictly church creativity to just like, how do you be the best creative that you can be, is really cool.
That starts with not just skill, but that's soul. Yeah. That's mind, right? Like, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. So it's like, we're trying to cover all of that.
I will tell you,
in some capacity around.
I at SALT was the first time that I fully understood my Enneagram number. So that was pretty cool.
Ooh.
Because Ian Cron was there a couple years ago.
Share it. What's your
I'm a 9.
9.
Yeah. And you're a 4.
I'm a 4.
Right? Luke, do you know what you are?
Well, I think I'm a 6, but when Ian spoke, I was like, maybe I'm something different. I don't know yet.
Yeah. Ian has the ability to just kind of speak like You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I get it.
Yep.
This
Well,
is
and
what I
he'll
am.
tell you if you get a conversation with him, you're actually a little bit of all of it.
Yeah.
Right. You're
Right.
not one, but you sort of lean into all of those.
Yeah. So I'd love to talk about speaker lineup this year.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about?
Wait. Before we get into that,
Yeah. Okay.
SALT is coming up.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
2 weeks out.
2 weeks out.
Yeah. October 20th through the 22nd. And some of you are watching this going, man, I'm so mad. I don't think I could get to Nashville, Tennessee in 2 weeks and find a hotel and all that sort of stuff. Well, the good news is for the first time ever, thanks to you all,
Hey.
Heyo.
we will be simultaneously live streaming the conference while doing it in person. What that means is thanks to our friends at Resi, we will actually be able to do live stream all 54 workshops, which is a crazy feat.
What?
You all partnered with us last year to do the virtual event, and we did it all live, and no one knew it was live, but it was kind of like a test event for us to say, could the church support, 9 or 10 concurrent streams? So anyway, so
Okay.
yes, it is live stream
Yeah.
as well.
So
If
now
you can't make-
that we know we can still attend, even though we're 2 weeks out,
Yes.
tell us who we're going to see when we are attending. Because now everyone just got streaming tickets. They're in.
Yeah.
They took this time right now. They already open up a new tab. Who are they going to
So
see?
I'm going to say this real quick. Jerry Seinfeld was asked once which episode of Seinfeld was his favorite. And he literally said the most recent one, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like breathing. Like once you take a breath, you're just grateful for that breath, right? So I'm prefacing that to say this is the best SALT speaker lineup we've ever had. And I say that every year because it always is the best one. And I mean, we've got main session speakers. We got Mike Donahue from 10th Avenue North, Jeremy Cower, the photographer, artist guy. We've got Randy Gravitt, who's a Chick-fil-A leadership coach and helped operators all across America figure out how to increase their efficiencies, but also make sure that they're a culture of care, which is powerful.
Is he bringing chicken
then-
minis?
No, but if you come to conference, you'll get some Christian chicken.
Yeah. Okay. Continue.
We've got we've got Glenn Packiam also in the main room. He's been with SALT numerous years. He was a worship leader and is one of the executive pastors at New Life Church in Colorado. So great friend to SALT and just a powerful communicator of creativity and faith. And then on the workshop side, we've got incredible voices from almost every church you could sort of recognize that's sort of a pioneer in creativity or technology right now. Passion City Church, Elevation Church, The Belonging, Transformation Church, Saddleback. I could probably go on, but 54 topics on extraordinarily practical, issues surrounding technology and creativity. It's incredible. You can go to saltnashville.com and take a look at the whole speaker lineup. But I guarantee there's going to be someone you resonate with or you connect with around a topic or their church, and just say, hey man, I'd love to get some time with them. And that's one of the blessings of SALT, is to sort of, a lot of these speakers really are some of the most humble speakers, and they just make themselves available. So
That's awesome.
but there's one I'm super excited about. Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Well,
We just announced 2 weeks ago, and I'll never forget when I told Nate, his eyes whoa, that's awesome. I can't wait. So for the first time, we are excited to be welcoming the Chief Creative Officer of Pixar. His name is Pete Docter.
what?
He has directed films like Up, Inside Out, Soul, Monsters, Inc. I mean, some of your favorite Pixar films. He was a part of the original writing team of Toy Story. He's been around since day one. He is a devout believer. We've been trying to get him at SALT for a couple of years, and he finally said yes.
Oh, stinking
So-
winner. That's so cool.
So
It's
cool.
going to be awesome. Yeah. And he's going to actually allow us to pull the curtain back on them. That one, unfortunately, is not, you have to participate live in that session due to Pixar's legal stuff. But one of the cool parts of his presentation is he's going to do a Q&A. And so we're going to be able to allow the audience to ask him questions about his creative process, what they do at Pixar. And I think, we asked him, we're like, hey, is there anything that's off limits? And he goes, nope, you guys can ask us anything. So, yeah.
Wow.
Oh man,
That's going to be awesome.
so cool. I know when we talked, Luke and I talked a couple of days ago. Yeah, and that was he was like, yeah, if you know this guy Pete Docter, or that was like, what, Pete Docter?
You're like, what?
The Pete Doctor?
No, but that is really incredible. And yeah, again, just bringing it back to the creative inspiration and the storytelling behind what we all do. Certainly more than just your editing Bay and Premiere or moving knobs and faders. If you're a technical person, it comes back.
Well, let me say this
way
about
more
Pete.
than that.
Before we actually announced him several weeks ago, we did a pre-call with him, basically because he was like, I don't know if I can add any value to your community. We're like, well, we're convinced you can. But we had this call, and he made a comment that I don't know if he's going to talk about this or not, but this just shows you how connected he is to what I think everybody who's watching this is connected to. And that is, he basically said, well, when Disney Plus came on and we had to figure out how to release Soul, not in the theaters, we had to figure out how streaming and data is potentially changing our stories. Because he basically was like, we now can tell when someone's going to jump ship, or we can tell like when someone's not watching anymore. And he's like, it's changing our stories. And I said, wow, that is so powerful, because I guarantee that someone in the church is going to say streaming is changing the way that their service is structured, or changing the way that we tell stories on a Sunday morning or whatever. And so he immediately was like, oh, wow, well, there's lots I could share about that on the pro and the con. He's like, there's good because we get instant feedback, but there's negative because it's changing how we would have told a story. And so anyway, even that right there, I think could be insight.
Absolutely.
For some of you guys.
That's really
cool.
Wow. Okay. So aside from the speaker lineup, if someone's kind of on the fence of like, I don't know, like, you know, I don't know if I can make it, or I don't know if, you know, getting on the stream and, you know, spending my time with Salt and experiencing this, I don't know if it's going to be like, you know, worth my time. Give us, you know, your 60-second, like, convincing elevator pitch for Salt that someone might be on the fence about.
Well, if you're on the fence, I would encourage you to go read a couple of the like reviews and testimonials of people who have shared what they've experienced when they come to Salt. Because one of the things that I'll say about Salt is we are not a like overly marketing group. In fact, I was texting with a friend the other day who basically said, hey, did you see that, you know, Pete's coming to Salt, and he's been a part of Salt for years. And he's like, dude, I didn't even know you guys were doing Salt because we suck at marketing. And so we're not about hard pitches. We're about community.
Yeah.
And what I would say is, I think you will find that it is probably the single best investment you can make in your creative, technical, personal, spiritual journey. And I say that because there's something that happens when we carve some time out, whether you're on stream or in person. Now, if you're on stream, don't also try and work. Like, take off. Tell your pastor, hey, I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my, you know, cold brew coffee or my PSL, and I'm just sitting and soaking in, because there's something that happens when we pause and we take a break and we allow sort of the whispers of God to cover our lives and to cover our creative process. And what I would say is there's just something powerful that happens when we put that sort of devotion and time into improving ourselves. And if that's not enough to say yes, I'll give everybody who's listening right now $50 off any ticket. If you just use the code RESI, I'll save you $50. So just go type that in. And I'm only saying that because I just want you to know we want you to be here, and we don't want any reason for you not to experience this conference, because I think it'll both help your skill, but I also think it'll help your soul.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Luke, one piece I just wanted to kind of touch back on. You had mentioned something that I thought was really interesting, that you've been doing this for 9 years. You know, we always ask the COVID question. That's always a big part of people that are streaming their story, of like, hey, how has your event or ministry or whatever you do changed or been affected? But I even want to go beyond that too, and just talk about creativity in general over those 9 years. How have you seen the topics that you're addressing and kind of the needs? And, you know, I'm sure as you're reacting to the environment and knowing, hey, this is what we need to build the conference around this year, how have you seen that change even over the past 9 years, and then leading up into COVID?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like year one, we spent probably more time than we ever did on theme and story, and how do we find speakers that fit into this sort of narrative that crosses all 5 main sessions. And as I parallel that to this planning process and this year, we've realized that the creative process, in our opinion, has kind of just gotten condensed. And a lot of that happened in 2020 when COVID hit and we had to pivot, like everybody, to say, hey, it's not safe to really gather a bunch of people not knowing what we don't know about this virus. And I think what it's actually done is it's a double-edged sword. There's a pro to it and there's a con. But what we've realized is our team is far more resilient than we sort of gave ourselves credit, if that makes sense. And I'm sure most churches have found that, like, oh, wow, we can pivot. Like, we are stronger than we thought. Like, we've almost proven the fact that we are able to sort of adapt and sort of, move quickly into sort of different structures or different rhythms or different platforms. But what that's done is it's given us freedom that we don't have to have so much anxiety if we feel behind in the creative process. But with that also means we've almost enabled bad behavior, right? Because that means that we intentionally allow ourselves to sort of roll at a little bit of like a last minute pace, which is embarrassingly bad. And I think
no church ever does that, though.
No,
no. Well, and I think there's pros and cons to that. But I think the other thing we've realized, and last year showed us this intently, is we used to do hour and 15-minute workshops. And we've just learned the attention span isn't there. I mean, the data showed us that there's about a 20 to 25-minute window of a captive audience. And so we totally structured our whole schedule this year about all the knowledge we had on the data of, hey, what if we did 30-minute teachings with 15-minute Q&As with a 30-minute break? And so the whole idea being, let's give people space. Let's allow people to sort of, I mean, everybody's going to attempt to multitask, and I don't think that's a real thing. I think you're split tasking.
Yeah.
But I think that COVID's given us the data to say, hey, maybe there's a smarter play of like, I mean, TikTok proves this, right? Instagram Reels, like shorter, sort of quicker hits of sort of, training and equipping rather than really, really long. Now interestingly, when we did that to workshops, we did the inverse to pre-conference. So we have a pre-conference that's actually 4 hours instead of like 2.5, like we've always done. So we said, well, let's go really deep on some deep topics so that people can actually like feel like they learn a process, a procedure, a rhythm, or a technique. But in the workshops, let's really condense it. So it's not a lot of fluff. It's just all practical training so that you're getting sort of the most out of it in a short amount of time period. And that way that, speaker doesn't tell a 30-minute story about their life.
Yeah.
When you're like, I want to know, how do I make my stream higher quality?
Right. One other thing that I love just on that same kind of topic too is how you guys are always on kind of the bleeding edge of trying new things from a creative and technical perspective. Like last year you guys did the kind of the virtual set AR thing?
Yeah, like the Mandalorian stuff.
Yeah. So, what are some things that you're excited for? Maybe even, and I love that like the conference is sometimes kind of a demo ground or a proving ground for some of these really cool concepts and technologies that are coming out. What are some things that you're really excited for creativity, either in this year's conference or just in general too in the future? What are some things that you think are going to be a really big impact?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think is really fun about what we get a chance to do at SALT is, number one, we have a heartbeat of we want to model sort of what creativity could look like in the church to a point.
Yeah.
Now, we're a conference, we're not a church, so we can get away with some stuff that a lot of churches may not be able to get away with, and we're very aware of that. I mean, we've put kinetic lights in our main worship center. We did the augmented reality, which was fun because it was literally a green screen off stage, and so our jib would like just pan over and go into the augmented reality. That stuff churches probably can't get away with, but we do have a healthy spirit of how do we help push or challenge the church to greatness? Like, how do we help people see and touch and experience new technology and new ways of doing things? And every year our team always comes up with a few things that I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Like, we dabbled in this in 2019, we're bringing them back, but we have a partner that's going to help us create basically an immersive sound experience in the room. So if you are able to make it to Nashville, you're going to actually be able to hear this like fully immersive. It's almost surround sound, but it's a little bit more. The whole idea is that instead of you feeling like you're hearing a wall of sound coming at you, we want you to actually feel like you're in the midst of worship.
Yeah.
And being able to sort of use and spotlight and highlight technology like that is just a fun way of saying, wow, what's next? And if the technology is there, how do creatives start telling stories well through those sorts of vehicles and those mediums? I mean, even the stream, just the the conversations we're having of how do we create an experience that is very intimate online, but also works in person. I mean, that's been a challenge for us this year. I'll be completely honest. The opening moment, which is always kind of a big thing for our team to think about, hey, what are we going to do to sort of synergize our tribe and sort of, get our vision or theme going? The first idea was it's a completely silent, void opener. And we're like, well, you can't stream that. So let's go back to a different concept. So I mean, we're having to realize like there's boundaries and how we create experiences and tell stories well, so that the online audience can also. I mean, that's a challenge that every church is dealing with right now. Yeah. And so I'm not going to say we've nailed it, but I do think that's something that our team has thought about and we're continually thinking about. And we're actually trying to push the envelope a little bit. We're going to maybe take some risks on how do we make the online experience feel like you're in the room somehow. And not just watching the room, but how do you potentially feel like you're in the room? So we're still working through some of that, but there's some ideas that are sort of driving in those regards.
Wow. Well, I'm excited for SALT, just based on what you've shared already. But I also think what's cool is, SALT, the conference, is just a piece of the larger SALT picture. And totally. I love your website URL, saltcommunity.com, and that idea of it's not just a splash in the a splash in the pan or whatever, where it's like, come get this great content at the conference and then we'll see you next year. Talk to us about the expanding community of SALT and how you guys support teams, year round.
Yeah. So I think the probably most public way we do this is through a lot of our free resources. So if anybody has not gone to this, you need to go to saltcommunity.com/free resources, or just go to saltcommunity.com and then click on free resources at the top. But things like ProPresenter 7 shortcut sheets and video templates to sort of help you get lower thirds for your stream. One of the ways we want to sort of help the church is to just help resource you with tools to help shortcut the doing so that you guys can focus on the being, the actual serving of volunteers and actually creating a ministry. We can't do that for you, but we can help you with some shortcuts or some templates or some freebies to sort of just pour into your ministry. We've also done articles. They've kind of slowed down over the last year or so just because of a lot of the pandemic shift. And then we have a slew of books and training resources, online platforms called SALT University that actually allows virtual training. And so you can invite your team into it and create a curriculum, and you can add your videos and our videos, and you basically can sort of track users' progress as they begin to train through it. But the honest truth is that we just want to be a space that's far more than just a 3-day conference. And we want to hopefully equip, train, and inspire the church all year round. And we've got lots of big vision ways we want to do that in the future. But part of that is sparked out of what we call the SALT community groups in person. This year, we're going to do them a little bit differently, which is, I'm excited about that. That's an area we're pioneering. But the idea being, how are we more than just a gathering, but we're actually a community, and we're helping each other. We're sharing resources, we're sharing insights, all that sort of stuff. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
I love that. Well, Luke, man, really appreciate you being on here today. Sure. Appreciate you taking the time. We're super stoked for SALT. I'm super stoked for Pete Doctor and the rest of the team and the crew that you guys have there. Is there anything that we haven't asked you today that is on your mind that we should have asked you, or that you'd like to share about SALT, about the conference, about SALT community, about coffee? anything that you
haven't
like
had that pumpkin cold brew, go get it. Wish I could give you a $50 coupon code to that, but
me too.
No, I honestly, guys, it's been an honor to be with you guys today, and we are just huge fans and friends of Resi and what you all are doing to help the church make technology and streaming easier. We've used it ourselves. And so what's cool is that we're able to say that not just as, oh, you're just a partner and we know of you. No, we're actually users and we can say that, which is what's fun. But I'm just excited for SALT. I hope that if some of you are on the fence, I want this to sort of be your sign, if you will, that God is telling you to figure out how to get to SALT. And go tell your pastor, go bring a team. Literally, I think it is the greatest investment you can make in yourself. and your team. I mean, if you've got a volunteer team and say, hey, there's a team stream, by the way, that we're doing. So like you can buy one pass and get 20 tickets basically to stream. Everybody get their own login, which is cool because you can invite all your volunteers. Say, hey, while you're at work, feel free to watch this.
Oh man, that's awesome.
It's just an honor to be with you guys, and grateful for the partnership we have with you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. All right. Is that it?
I think that's it. Thank you so much, Luke. Thanks everybody for watching. And be sure to sign up for SALT. You can use that code RESI too and get $50 off. So thanks, Luke, for your time. Thanks for being here. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
See ya.